We have now such good news on earth as might well be celebrated and appreciated, acknowledged. And that is that we have a candidate in the presidential election for the United States declaring openly that on his first day in office he would declare a state of national emergency for the sake of resolving our ecological catastrophe. This is of such value on our earth right now that in fact I would call for all reasonable, certainly all authorities, but all of the would-be leaders of our world to engage together in what I would call a motion to save the only gem that we have ever known, and that is a global emergency movement. Tom Steyer, I believe, is his name. I don't even know his political affiliation so far as party is concerned. And you must understand that this term party, a political party, I will say it has been one, hasn't it? I hold no interest in any political party, and that is a form that is obsolete. We are the people, and the people are being slaughtered by business. And that business process first, we are, after all, first and foremost, a monetary culture. I can tell you those little monetary papers and coins will be lying everywhere on the surface of the world once we are extinct. You cannot have a monetary culture and a people living in it. You must have a people culture and monetary symbols used throughout. I will, in short order, lay out for you all of the necessary ingredients for the saving of your world, which you can do, but you must first of all declare that you are down a tunnel of darkness that leads to your sure extinction. And the only way to acknowledge that is to say, I openly declare that this is an emergency. And then you can begin to emerge. You will not emerge from this tunnel of darkness which leads to sure extinction until you declare this is an emergency. And that emergency will guide you to shutdowns of this and that immediately. The first step that your children are asking for is for you to change what you are doing today into something that will be sustainable tomorrow. The first step in you changing what you are doing today is declaring that what you are doing today will no longer work. It never was sustainable. It never would work. It has been pushed and pushed and pushed until we are now at the edge of death. If you would like to see your own children live out a natural life, if you would like to see the human race continue, then you must declare an emergency and climb back out of the oil and coal-filled tunnel that you've dug for yourself. This man is a rich man who has declared that he would declare an emergency, and no doubt can protect himself. Yet every other person on this planet that speaks out now, even the young, they will be beaten. The only reason the young have not been beaten so far is because they are so young. Your system currently requires that they be beaten and jailed because they are interrupting with your process. When you declare that this is an emergency order for change, then every aspect of your process becomes questioned. I remind you, I'm from a native culture. Our process never killed us. We declared that we would not change who we are, that we would stay precisely who we are, exactingly who we are, before we would create a process that kills our own children. You are killing your own children, and today there is actually a candidate in a presidential election who is so committed that he will risk his own life against all the money and oil and military interests and say, if I get into office, I shut this thing down. You are in a bus going over a cliff. You are listening to the same liars that put you in this bus and the same liars who told that driver to drive straight over a cliff. If you cannot admit for yourself, admit. Think what admit means. Admit in a courtroom. admit as evidence, if you cannot admit that this is a global emergency leading to an extinction, an emergency, and if you cannot declare this, do you understand? Declare. A declarative makes it not in my mind anymore. It makes it now in reality. There's only one person who is not above 16 years old, only one person who has declared, I understand that this is an emergency. We cannot have squabbling over who will win the election. Every single person who might win that election must declare today, it is a global emergency. And if you have any intelligence at all, you will build a pact amongst yourselves declaring in advance of your election, this will be our staff to stop a global emergency. And perhaps you'll choose, Mr. Steyer, from the other candidates that are out there, people that are appropriately capable of handling offices, and for the first time in history, present to the people of America, this is what the business will look like once it's installed. Instead of this gamesmanship of pick the right leader and trust me that I'll pick the right people. This is not a game, this is life and death. Your circle is broken. Your way is broken. Your teachers have been shot to death and murdered, and now someone's coming forward and risking his life and saying, I'll risk it. You have to hear the truth. You have to emerge. It is the only hope. Hope comes from one thing only. One thing only. I will test everybody on the planet on this. Hope and faith comes from one thing only. Maybe faith comes from imagination. I don't want to go there, but hope comes from one thing only. A palpable, plausible plan. A palpable, plausible plan. Hope emerges in your body when you have said, I can sense that this will work. I can feel myself. That's the palpable. I can feel myself engaged in a plan which is plausible to save my life. You ask that man who cut his own arm off what it felt like to come into the moment of realization that he had a palpable, plausible plan to save his life and what he would have to do in order to do it. One candidate has said, it begins